clans and the tribes? What are the things that link each other? How do we look after our neighbors, those who are nearest and those who are further? And what do we consider about near and neighboring states that are in and around us? And how do we relate to people who are like us from our ethnic backgrounds, religious backgrounds, linguistic backgrounds, and those who are different? All of those are addressed in the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in very clear, systematic order to our Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And therefore there's none of us who can't find an example of a lifestyle that they are engaged in, even the impermissible. Even that which is sinful and condemnable by Allah is mentioned in the Quran as an example of what not to do, and the retribution that Allah visits upon those who practice it. I begin with Ibrahim. It's such a contentious story, subhanallah. Ibrahim alayhi salam is one of the two prophets who are most mentioned in the Quran as examples to our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Ibrahim is set as the example of Tawheed, what it means to really give yourself over in submission and surrender to Allah. Have no mistake in your understanding. The word Islam does not begin with peace, it ends with peace. Islam begins with surrender and submission, which allows you to give over the command of your life to one who knows you and what your life should be better. So when you give it in surrender to Allah and follow His dictates, you can find a peace that is beyond the emotional peace that we try to interchange with each other. And therefore you see that Ibrahim Hanifa, he was a person of pure monotheism. And Allah says to our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَمَنْ يَرْغَبُ عَنْ مِلَّةِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ إِلَّا مَنْ سَفِهَ نَفْسَهُ. None strays from the path walked upon by Abraham except one who has deluded themselves. وَاتَّبِعْ مِلَّةَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ حَنِيفًا. So you, Ya Muhammad, adjust your lifestyle and walk upon the path of Ibrahim in a clear monotheistic capacity that singles me only out Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. The other prophet is Musa alayhi salam, and I will speak about both of them and others in the short course of the next 15 minutes, insha'Allah. Ibrahim is born into a society of shirk. People who worship other than Allah. In fact, his primary caregiver, his father, Azar, is a man who is the chief idol maker, the highest of priests in the order of his civil society. And Ibrahim begins to try to speak to a father who does not want to listen and debate with elegance and with equity about who is Allah. There's many different narratives that I'm sure that you've studied, from pointing to the stars and the moon and the sun. هَذَا رَبِّي. Perhaps this is God, he would say to the people, to get them to think. Finally, when he was on a lonely planet where everything around him disputed what he knows is truth. And I want you to understand that our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was very much in the same capacity, very singular in his perspective in understanding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, immersed in a sea and an ocean that surrounded him that leads to other than Allah. It's for that reason that the Prophet would ascend the highest cliff in the surrounding, where a person next to you does not see it in the same capacity, where maybe even there is aggression that is visited upon you. And Allah gives this Quranic example in the Quran in Surah Luqman. Luqman begins in advising his son, Ya bunayya la tushrik billah, my son, don't ever take partners with Allah. Inna shirka la dhulmun azim. It is the greatest of injustice. In the next ayah, Allah suspends the dialogue of Luqman and Allah introduces what comes next. وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ. And I say to you, Allah says, be good to your parents. وَإِن جَاهَدَاكَ. In the ayah, Allah says, if they wage a jihad, if they struggle and strive with all their means, عَلَىٰ أَن تُشْرِكَ بِي, that you leave off your worship of me, فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا. Don't obey them. Being a sahabi to them in this life with an equitable charitableness of heart. Imagine be a sahabi to a father, to a mother who makes and wages a struggle against you to turn away from Allah. Don't obey, resist. But remain with Allah, but remain their sahabi. Be as Abu Bakr was to Muhammad ﷺ with them. And you say, subhanallah, to parents, see the extremism that enters at times within the hearts of Muslims. Place that Allah did not call to, they're unacquainted with the Quran. They don't hear the dua of Ibrahim in the sense Ibrahim understood as a man, as a father, he wants his children to be led to salah. But equally his dua, رَبِّ اغْفِرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيْ. Those same people who pushed him out of his society, you might say maybe he means his mother. Maybe he means somebody else. Maybe he doesn't mean his father. Notice what he says in Surah Al-Shu'ara that Allah records, وَاغْفِرْ لِأَبِي. He would make dua for his father. Surely he was one who was far away from you. I want you to understand that it is entirely possible that you love a person who's on a path distant from Allah, and that love does not need to change. What needs to change is your call and your attempt to bring them to truth. And Allah inverses the argument. Allah then shows Ibrahim, do you know how committed your father was to his shirk? Well, I want you to do the same to your son that your father nearly did to you. البلاء المبين, and Allah orders Ibrahim, إني أرى في المنام أني أذبحك. I see that I must slaughter you, my son. And it's as if Allah is saying your father was so committed to his shirk and you were to the sinfulness of his ways. And when Ibrahim تله للجبين and committed and was about to fulfill the order, and Nuh alayhi salam has a son who's wayward. A son, could you imagine an imam stands in front of you today, وَيَأْمُرُ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَى عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ, commands you to good, forbids evil upon you, and many of us, we would turn to him and say, يا أخي ابدأ بأهلك. Begin with your family. Why are you talking to us? Your boy's over there. It's a humiliation. It's a very difficult thing to deal with, where your own family turn. And Allah gives us this narrative in the Quran. It becomes a lonely place as a father and mother, parents who are away from truth. Not in one prophet, but two that we are spoken of in the Quran. امرأة نوح وامرأة لوط كانتا تحت عبدين من عبادنا صالحين فخانتاهما. In Surah Al-Tahrim, the wives of Lut, the wives of Nuh. Wallahi, no one is more noble than the prophets and messengers of Allah. None of us will ever achieve what Nuh achieved, what Lut achieved, and yet from their own household, from people who shared their own bedrooms, from people who brought their children into the world, with those who committed a deception and a tragedy and an evil that caused Allah to turn them away from His rahmah. And Allah gives you the opposite example. The greatest tyrant, Fir'aun, who governed the world, had an obedient wife, but under his tyranny, she suffered. وَامْرَأَةُ فِرْعَوْنَ, if he lived on that house that she lived in, with all of its pomp, with all of its beauty, with all of its gold and wealth and silk, that she recognized in her heart a truth, and she recognized that the disturbance to that truth in this world was her own husband. And his wickedness didn't just turn against Bani Israel, but gained full force upon her. And all that she had left was to say, oh Allah, take my life. رَبِّ ابْنِ لِي عِنْدَكَ بَيْتًا فِي الْجَنَّةِ. Oh Allah, وَنَجِّنِي مِنْ فِرْعَوْنَ. Oh Allah, save me. Oh Allah, take me. I cannot endure. مِنْ فِرْعَوْنَ وَعَمَلِهِ. From Pharaoh and Maryam alayha salam. Look at the loneliness that each and every one of these icons of our faith experienced before their success would come, before their families would flourish, before happiness would be visited upon them. Maryam al-Tahira, the anointed one, the pure of the pure, the one who the angels would speak to. إذ قالت الملائكة يا مريم إن الله اصطفاك وطهرك واصطفاك على نساء العالمين. The chosen of the chosen. كمل من الرجال, the Prophet ﷺ says in the hadith of Imam Bukhari, many men have attained completion, and of the women who have attained completion, you're not acquainted with many of them. Let me tell you of 4 that you've come to learn of. And he speaks first in mentioning Maryam ibnata Imran. Maryam, the daughter of Imran. Now I want you to pay attention. Never in the Quran and never in the Sunnah does Allah or the Prophet ﷺ refer to Maryam as Maryam Isa, the mother of Jesus. Because there's account of her son. She's the daughter of Imran. She's not just the mother of Isa. She's blessed. Don't get it confused that her claim to fame is that she gave birth to Isa alayhi salam, Rawhullahi wa kalimatuh. In the same way the Prophet continues the hadith. Maryam, the daughter of Imran, the blessed one. Asiya, he mentions her debilitation, attained completion, and she's the wife of Pharaoh. Everybody has a chance. If the wife of Pharaoh can be elevated by Allah, no one can say, I'm in an unsupported relationship that can bring me to my Lord. وَخَدِيجَةُ بِنْتُ خُوَيْلِدٍ. Not Khadija زوج Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. She's not Khadija who's special because mashallah she married me. She's Khadija bint Khuwaylid. She's special on her own. وفاطمة بنت محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. It's a blessed statement that shows the importance and the value that is esteemed. For our single mothers here today, look into the life of Maryam. Study her surah. Study her context. Study what she learned and values of her time. And you will see the value that you have in yourself, the strength that can produce that which others cannot produce. From those who experience estrangement and loneliness is Musa alayhi salam. Musa is accused of a crime he did not commit, and he walks out of the desert into the people of Madian. فَرَأَ امْرَأَتَانِ تَذُودَانِ. He sees 2 women standing on the side being abused. They have to restrain from their water without permission, letting them have to wait into the height of the sun, where their animals will perish and their work will become difficult. قَالَ مَا خَطْبُكُمَا. What's your need? What's the problem? And they said, we're 2 young women. وَأَبُونَا شَيْخٌ كَبِيرٌ. Our father, our sons, there were no sons, and we're doing this job because it's forced upon us. We're from a refined culture. It's not our father is an elder, an older man. Our father is a shaykh. He's a respected individual in our tribe. Don't mess with us. فَسَقَى لَهُمْ. He gave them food and water and drink. And he has no one in the world. And instead of coming with an entitlement, instead of saying to them, listen, you sit down, I'll help you, but just give me one of your sheep, pay me for my service. He does what is noble, what is right. As a man, he separates between being a male and a man. And in the context of the Quran, there's a difference between being a dhakar and a rajul. There's a difference between being a male in your species and being a man in your attitude and perspective. Whenever Allah uses the word rajul, it's contextualized. Ar-rijal qawamun. Men are established in standing up for the fulfillment of the needs of those who they look after. The responsibility that they've been given. Ala nisa. They're women folk. رِجَالٌ صَدَقُوا مَا عَاهَدُوا اللَّهَ عَلَيْهِ. Men are those who fulfill the promise that they have given to Allah. The Prophet, the covenant, the most significant promise that a man makes in his life is what he promises Allah in his dealing of his spouse. إِنَّكُمْ أَخَذْتُمُ guardianship by a promise you made to Allah, not just to their family. رِجَالٌ لَا تُلْهِيهِمْ تِجَارَةٌ وَلَا بَيْعٌ عَنْ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. Men are those who trade in commerce and then coming to the remembrance of Allah. They will put it in. Allah characterizes it in Surah Al-Qasas. ثُمَّ تَوَلَّى إِلَى الظِّلِّ. By the time he finished, the heat was so severe in that desert, he was forced to sit under the shade of a tree. وَقَالَ رَبِّ إِنِّي لِمَا أَنزَلْتَ إِلَيَّ مِنْ خَيْرٍ فَقِيرٌ. All the good you've given me in life in past, I remain faqir. I remain in need of you providing. I have nothing but the clothing on my back. But it will not cause me to act in a way that is suggestive and uncharacteristic. And from that moment, being alone, sitting on a tree with nothing, I leave you with one final Quranic message of those who appreciated estrangement, loneliness. كَيَتِيمًا فَآوَى. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ya Muhammad, didn't I find you under my watchful eye, one who is orphaned, cut off, alone, and I was your source of protection. I want you to understand that who you are today is not as important as who you will be tomorrow. You say, what does this mean? Allah loved Musa alayhi salam as a baby enough for what he will do, not what he's done. And Allah saves Musa alayhi salam in the waters under the care of the man who he will contest. And the one who wants his blood is the one who's the nurturer of him throughout his life. Subhanallah. I have this problem. I have this deficiency. I have this sin. I have this immorality. I have this haram in my life. And I don't like where I am today. But that's not as important as what you will be in the future. Allah loved radiallahu anhu Umar ibn al-Khattab even as a tyrant before his Islam. Not for what he was doing at the time, but for what he will do in the future. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to Musa, وَجِئْتَ عَلَىٰ قَدَرٍ يَا Musa. Ya Moses, when you come to me in the desert now, you didn't come a day early or a day late. You came according to your qadr. You came according to the time that I knew you would be ready, and the struggles of your life led you to this moment. أَلَمْ يَجِدْكَ يَتِيمًا فَآوَى. Ya Muhammad, the struggles you've endured in your life have prepared you now that you're 40 to stand in front of me and be blessed with this burden, with this hardship of carrying the truth. And I want you to know that wherever your life carries you, wherever you move forward, remember the life of our Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I want you to focus on his seerah. Understand this hadith, not read speaks to him, how Allah speaks to his community. And I don't want you to ingest it on your own, but I want you to turn to the learned so that you can see its perspective and context and application. And notice that you will see that whatever Allah has burdened us with, He wants us to undo for others. This is the final message I leave you with today. To release myself and yourself of that lonely planet is to introduce people in it, is to bring people in, to care for your neighbor, to clean your masjid, to give charity to the near and to the far, to ask about your blood, your relatives, to be as concerned for your khala, your mother's sister, as you are for your mother, because the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-khala walda, it's like she gave birth to you. To honor your your father's brother, who if your father is missing your life, your becomes your wali and wakil. To consider the importance of your relations, that increases your health and your wealth and your prosperity and your barakah. To be a person, and every time you look to women, dua for an aggressor, you will find Allah gives barakah in your household and saves you from the hurdles that they have faced. And the greatest solution to your problem is to solve another person's problem, that Allah will send someone to solve for you what you cannot solve for yourself. I look forward to sharing with you a few more discussions from those who are forgiven our sins at our departure, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala carries you and I home to our families safely with happiness. وصل اللهم وسلم وزد وبارك على سيدنا وحبيبنا ونبينا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Well, our hearts are still softened by the lecture we just heard. These are questions that we must address. There are two, for a Muslim, there should be two categories of those: the short-term goals and the long-term goals. The short-term goal, achieving success in whatever we do, may Allah grant us success. However, the long-term goal, the ultimate goal, is to make it to Jannah. In order to achieve your long-term goal, your short-term goals must be lived carefully in an Islamic manner. You must carefully live your life. Your relationship in making money, your relationship with your wife, your relationship with your children. May Allah is already smiling. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you as you come.
Love Guru.
And to whom our return, may his choicest blessings go to the highest of Allah's creation, our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the most generous in companionship, the most gentle in speech, indeed a gift to humanity, a gift to us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum. You know, I always tell people wherever I go, when they ask me this question, and you are letting me down countries, which is your most receptive audience? I say, my brothers and sisters, infatuation versus love. I have this image, you know, of two boxes. The one box says love, generous of heart, giving, and he doesn't want to get into a fight, you know. And then you have vindictive, unforgiving. Now this is a point, you see. The point is this, that we are living at a time when more and more people are saying to their parents, Daddy, Mommy, I got to marry him. Do you have a other mic here? I want to give a moving speech, man. I feel a bit. You got, how far can I go with this? Because I promised my wife I'll give a moving speech, like, you know. But anyway, okay, anyway. And young people, because I deal with the situations where they say to the father and mother, you know what, Daddy, I want to marry her. And the father would ask, as my father asked me, did you meet the family? Do you know the family? I said, but Daddy, I'm going to stay with her. Hey, that's better, right? So anyway, so my father said to me, did you meet her? I said, I met her, Daddy. Why should I get to know the family? He says, son, you learn. I'm now married for 35 years, and I call my wife Shushu Bobolina. He was very romantic, but are all men romantic? Sisters are saying no. Brothers, are you romantic? Hey, you're romantic. Sono. But how do you say you are telling me to tell I love you? Ina sonka. And if you tell your wife ina sonki, how's that? Ina sonki. When last did your husband tell you ina sonki? He didn't tell you. Look at this. Brothers, your wives are depressed here, brothers. All they need is love. Yes, brothers, I want to see you smiling. Could you put these lights on? I want to see the brothers here. Okay, I know love is blind, but I should see you, right? Okay. Now, very important after a presentation is unlikely you're going to change. When the Sahaba learned anything from the Mubarak lips of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to manifest in changed behavior, very importantly, I know when you are sitting here, you might be thinking, hey, what a pity, my man is not here. He should have been here. I told him to come. Forget about him. You make the change. And when you go back home, don't tell him you should have been there, but tell him, no, darling, my Shusha Bobolina, I'm so glad I went for this conference. I learned a lot about myself. It'll be so interesting. Yeah, I learned a lot about myself. I can be more loving to you after you finish. He says, yes, he said that. Oh, I should have come. Yes, he should have come. Now, darling, I'm going to make these changes. What do you think you can do? Ask him. You've got to use a lot of wisdom. Now, this is a very important aspect. If you look at statistics today, many countries, over 50% of marriages that have been based on so-called love end up in divorce. You know about that, right? In fact, I read a statistic that in arranged marriages, only 6% end up in divorce. An arranged marriage is not necessarily a marriage to people. The ummah is bleeding. The ummah is bleeding. What are some things we need to introduce in our homes? Why is it that today there is anger, there is no consideration, there is no love? Share with you some of the differences. If you look at the dictionary meaning of infatuation, they say it's an intense feeling or passion that is short-lived. Some people say infatuation can last between 1 to 6 months, 1 month to 6 months. Others say sometimes 2 days to 2 years of your life. Now, even if through infatuation you married someone, it does not mean that the love cannot grow. And how does love grow in our homes? How does it grow? Love grows when you listen with empathy. Love grows when you show compassion. Love grows is about us. Love is about sacrifice. Love is about generosity. Love grows when you accord to your spouse the dignity she deserves. Love grows when she's part of the decision and making process. Now I want to ask you to raise of hands, to our sisters first. Are your husbands expressive about those that are married? Put your hands up, those that are married. Right? Okay. Are you expressive about your love? I say to everyone, you can deal with the world's problems, with the biggest challenge you find, and I say this to you, that many people say reluctantly, I allowed my daughter to marry this person. I was unhappy, but she was stubborn. I was afraid she might elope. There might be a scandal. And I recall meeting one couple, they were married for about 8 to 9 months. I met the father for the first time, and he said to me, you know, this is what has happened. And I told my daughter, he's the wrong person. She was insistent, no, I must marry him. He said, but there isn't a day in which they do not fight. So I met them. That happens, young become stubborn, they become ramifications. We need to be the, and you find today, and there's an incident, that, and the husband phones me up, and he says to me, Brother Idris, you know what, my wife and I have an issue. So I asked them, what is the issue? He says, well, we are married now, my wife and I, for 14 years, but my wife has never expressed her feelings for me. I'm not sure. When any couples come to me, I give it a person. I said, they don't call me the love guru for nothing. You understand? I despise each other. But when they stop and they listen and they say, you know what, let me look at my husband with new eyes. Let me look at the positive aspects of his behavior. For example, I remember this incident also where one couple came to see me, and that lady wrote like a novel about her problems. I said, it'll take me 3 months to finish up with this woman. So anyway, I said, anyway, I don't want to disappoint her. But my first question to her took her, she was quite shocked. She was taken aback. What's his problem? What's he up to here? I told you I don't want to come to him, angry look. But anyway, reluctantly she began to speak. Then her heart began to soften. And she came with 10 good qualities the husband had. I said, now you tell me what's in the book. She said, there's no need to discuss that. Because that's the way. If we need to look at the positives of each one of us, that will increase our love, our affection. And we do not do that. So anyway, this couple here I was speaking about, he said to me, I want to stay in, I must speak to her. So she says, I want to stay in the marriage, except my father said to me, if you don't come back home today, do not ever come back. And it's quite clear that the father was going through these challenges with them and is fed up. I said, you stay there, the love doctor will be there. I'll be there, inshallah. Anyway, I went to that particular town, and the husband also told me over the phone, because we have a 1-year-old son, and I don't think he's experiencing the mother's love. Who is the father, of course, the wife. And as we were driving to his home, he gave me a little background about his wife, which I thought was very, very fitting. He said to me that when my wife was about 1.5 years old, the mother left them. So she never experienced the mother's love, neither did she see her father. I met both of them. Then I said to her, I want you to hold your husband's hand. And I want you to imagine your husband is your mother. Share with him all the feelings that you have. The resentment, whatever it is. Allah knew what's going to happen. And I wasn't too sure. This happened about 15 years ago. Then she said words to this effect. Innocent, so loving, Ya Allah. Know how to show Tatik. He said, Ya Allah, you have given me such a wonderful husband. So sensitive, so caring, so romantic. But I did not know how to show that love. Because, Mommy, I never saw you and Daddy being loving or being affectionate. And when they got up, the wife hugged her. From that day onwards, alhamdulillah, it happened 15 years ago or so, they're very happy together. So we must understand that when children grow up in a home where there is no love, but to expect them to show love, it will be very difficult. If they grow up in a home where the husband and wife do not show respect to each other, it's unlikely they will also show respect. And love grows when you are respectful. Love grows. Love is about being considerate. Infatuation is about me, myself, I. Love is about the marriage. When we are told that we are garments unto each other, but for the person who is infatuated, is only concerned about his own garment. He's only concerned about his own vanity. He's only concerned about his own aspirations. So we can turn it around. This time, many people say, my feelings have died for my husband. You know what? Those feelings can always be rekindled. They say, if you do the same things the same way every day, expect the same results. So I want to suggest 5 things to all of you, inshallah. The first point I want to suggest, I would like you and your husband to start having a conversation and asking this simple question: where are we in our relationship? What would you like me to do that will make you happy? A question we never ask. Sometimes we men, we think, and Allah bless you, my brothers. I'm not against you, my brothers. Please believe me. Because some of you got muscles, I see there. I love each one of you. A simple thing is to ask your wife, among the things I have done or I can do, what do you value the most? She may not tell you, well, number one is the fact that you provide shelter. She may not tell you that. That might be the 4th or 5th point. Might be the 10th point. But she might tell you that when you come home and when you engage me, when you ask me how's my day, when you affirm me, I love you. When you, for example, see that I need some help sometimes in the kitchen, of your own accord, you do that. When you do the following things. So we must get to understand who our spouses are. Get to know what their unique needs are. And I have no doubt in my mind that if you do that, it'll go a long way. The other important thing that we need to do, and I suggest 3 things all families must do. Must have a family routine, family goals, and family values. Not something that you impose, but something you talk to each other about. The third thing that you need to do is understand that the institution of marriage is a sacred institution. Sacred institution. An institution that you need to focus on, an institution in which together you like to create a sanctuary at home where your children say, hey, when I get married, I want to be loving like my father or loving like my mother. Funny enough, when it comes to premarital questions, about 10 of the 100 questions are about your childhood experiences. Were you happy as a child? Would you adopt the parenting style of your father or your mother? Or you ignore both? Are there aspects of your life you don't want to discuss? Are you an optimist? What about your temperament? What goals do you have in life? These are important questions. Fourthly, I say that marriage, you have 2 particular roles to play. To connect with the spouse and also, inshallah, to connect the spouse to Allah and our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Last but not least, very critical in our homes, we must have a sense of humor, right? I want all of you to stand up, please. All of you stand up, please. All of you stand up, please. All of you. Yes. I think they should put the lights on, eh? Yeah, it's difficult. Can't, eh? Right. I want you to repeat after me, right? If you're not married, you say, inshallah, when I get married. Okay, inshallah, when I get married. Right? Say, I'm going to be a loving spouse. Right? And whilst the conference is on, I'll send a beautiful romantic message to my husband. I pray he doesn't die of shock. I will make an effort to change the atmosphere at home. When I walk into the house today, I'll tell my husband, or your spouse rather, variety is a spouse of life. Okay, right. I'll tell my spouse, when I look at him, with the eye of love, I'll say, I like it. I like it. I'm going to introduce humor in our homes. Right. And inshallah, today is going to be a tipping point. And repeat this, if I do not change in the next 48 hours, it's unlikely I'm going to change. If I do not change in the next 48 hours, it's unlikely I'm going to change. If I do not change in the next 48 hours, it's unlikely I'm going to change. And I'll just tell you this. When I leave home, my wife will stand at the door and she'll blow kisses at me. One hand, yes, true. And when I'm driving, I turn around. I look at her as far as I can go. So when I get to work, they say, you got a stiff neck. I say, yes, looking at my beloved wife, you know. Right? And then when I drive, I'm driving, it's true this. When I'm driving, I'll come down the road, my wife will be the veranda, and then again I blow kisses. Really, I do that. And ever since there are 48 apartments there, ever since I've been doing that, 47 other ladies are also standing there. I say, no, not for you, only for my special one. You know why? In case something happens to me or her, if I were to die or something happens to her, the question people ask, what was the last moments you had with her? It's better to give a rose to a person that is living than to give a wreath in the grave. So remember this. Very important. Sheikh Yahya was saying, you do not get married to be happy, you are happy and you get married. You cannot have a victim mentality and blame your husband for your situation or your wife. Nothing. Even your marriage doesn't define you. When I ask people, who are you? They give me the name. I'm a teacher. No! The best answer, nothing but a servant of Allah. I tell my wife, my Shusha Bablina, make dua for her and a beloved mother, my mother-in-law, that Allah reward them. You understand? So, how many of you believe you can do things differently at home? Put your hands up. You can. Yes, all of you can, isn't it? Right. Some of you got two hands up, men. I think you got two wives there. Right. Two hands, right? Right. So, right. Now, I'm saying this to you. Right. And I think it'd be remiss of me, right, if I do not, in my conclusion, you may sit, please. 5 minutes. Oh, I got time. Right. Normally when I speak, I don't require a watch, I require a calendar, you know. Right. I want to just say this to you, please. If I share with you some of the stories I hear of our homes when they speak to me, it's very, very sad. Men ought to be loving and caring. Women want undivided love. The first 4 seconds between you and your spouse are the most important. When you come home, come with a smile. And your wife, if she's at home, must wait for you. Say, darling, assalamu alaikum, my bebek. I love you. Yes, love you. Give her a hug. Engage her. Right? Understand that. Okay. So anyway, I'll be coming back here a little later, talking to you. And I want to say that I'm so happy to see Nuruddin here and Mariam. I spent 2 days there, and may Allah grant their beloved mother, Sheikha Aisha Limu, the highest status in Jannah. She was such an inspiration. She is like my own family. You too are like my family. Have you learned something today? Inshallah. Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And all of you say, I like it. Louder, come on, louder. Come on, brothers, you're letting me down. I like it. Yee-haw! Autographs later, please.
Takbir. I hope you promise to change, because I saw a lot of us did not say anything. Me, I promise to change, sir. I don't know about you. Coming on next is a video we packaged for every one of us. One of the great evils out there right now, it can be used as a tool of goodness. May Allah assist us to use every opportunity we have in our life to invest in the akhirah. Is the social media. Matter of fact, it has been reported to be in the top 5 reasons why divorces are high out there. You get back home from work, a long day, you sit down, no talking to your wife or your children, you're just tapping your phone, just trying to get as much likes as possible. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ease our affairs. This video will go on and talk about some of these things that is being caused by the social media. It's something that we really need to pay attention. But before the video goes on, I want to talk about the seating arrangements. Please don't leave seats in front of you. You can always come forward and sit. And you don't have to say, these are not my friends, we didn't come together. Let's all sit together so that we can make space available for the rest of the people coming. May Allah ease your affairs. I'm sure the video will come on now as I get myself off the stage, and then we'll meet right after. Bismillah.
It's funny how we go about life, smiling and laughing, but each of us nursing some kind of wound, heartache, loss. Social media shows none of this, just perpetual good times with no context, and so we share constantly, in a bid to prove our happiness, our success, our place in this world, smiling on the outside yet suffering beneath the surface. Sarah! Did you have... Hello? Hello? Wait. What? What are you doing? Nothing. Who are you obsessing over? No one. Should someone wonder if people are beautiful if they're online? Let me see. Oh, come on, like everything's filtered. Look at this. I mean, come on, that's not wrong. Who really looks like that? Yeah, but she doesn't look beautiful. No. If you take all that makeup off, tell me about beautiful. Seriously. Well, there's nothing left. Hindsight. It's always 2020. Yeah, that's me, Sarah, at 19. Back when my biggest problem was if I should wear a hijab or not on my first day of uni. And this is a story about how I got entangled in a love affair that had leave me forever changed. Yeah, you heard right. Hijabis fall in love too. The thing about modesty is that people hold you to a moral high ground, but at 19 there's no way to know if you can live up to that ideal. I'm no different to any of you. I rise like the sun in high dawn and fall the way Maghreb floods the sky with red. The very thing that kept me intact was what they used to hang me in the end. Yeah, I learned the hard way. People always judge me. University. My cage birds no longer have to sing. Finally free. No more curfews, it's me now. I decide what I do, where I go, and who I spend time with. Freedom. You see, there's Omen Tiger now. Like the cheap ones, yeah, they're like chalkboards. I love Tiger. No, they do have a good little shop in there. I got all my uni stuff from there. Yeah, plates and napkins and stuff. I think I've got like bad circulation. My hands are always cold. Then you need to like, look, they're like purple. Right. That's my feet. All I know was that's all I need. It's so cold. The whole this one. No, that's cold. That's cold. My feet is always cold. My feet are always cold. We can't sleep when you're on bed at night. You put the socks on and your feet don't feel like that. I don't know. You ever tried to... I don't know, there's this thing called that, isn't there?
No, sorry. What's happening? Yeah, you good, yeah?
Yeah, I think I'm right, how you been?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Well, I was coming over, I need to invite you tomorrow. We've got a little reminder in the lecture theatre in university.
What, you go to this uni?
Yeah, come on, I'm the president of the ISO. What are you talking about?
That's Abs.
Abdullah. Abs Daisy's own vice. Abdullah now. Sorry, someone here. I'm the president of the ISO tomorrow at 2 p.m. We've got a little... You know what, the website to Islam? Yeah. Alright, so you see website to Islam, the guy who runs that, Abu Bakr Islam, is coming, he's going to give us some reminders. So it'd be good if you can come, bring down some of your friends. You know some non-Muslims, I know you. Man, chill out, man, I really love people, yeah? Alright, so invite whoever you can, just come down, 2 p.m, lecture fair 8. Yeah, lecture fair 8. Alright,
then see you there. Take care. What's that guy's name? The one in our hall? Yeah, in our lecture. Oh, the blonde girl. I think she's into fashion or something like that. Yeah, yeah. Some questions about Islam. She was always asking me about like when we pray and stuff like that. Yeah, I think we should bring her. It'd be good. I think it would be good as well. Yeah. Especially if she's interested. I think she'll benefit. And her friend Jennifer. Well, them two were quite close together. Well, just when we come up. Isn't that brother? What's his name? Zach or something? He's got some, he's got the YouTube channel. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, because he has a YouTube channel. Alright. Why is that brother not known his gaze there? Why is he just looking at you? Wait, I think you should DM him. Yeah, why not? Just be like, hey. No, why not? I mean, what do I do? No, just DM him. Please don't. Seriously, don't. Message him. Why would you do that? I'd rather see you. Why not? Because stupid. What are you saying? I'm just saying, hey, you know, did I just say you? That's it. You get too weird. Send. That's alright. Do you think you're bad? No, he won't. But that amount of followers he's got, no, he won't even see it. Some people are living. I want that. I'm tired of being on the sidelines, invisible. And there it is. That little seedling of envy that bit me with its poison fangs and grew deep in my heart until I became someone different. It's nice to hear your voice. He likes me. I know he does. I can feel it in my bones. He's sweet and kind, mashallah. He seems like a good brother. I always hope so. I wonder if I'm the only sister he talks to. Maybe we'll fall in love. Maybe he'll come see my dad. Maybe we'll get married. Maybe. Should've, would've, could've. It's just Shaitan's supper. Oh wow. If I'd have known what I know now, crap. I know Mother's words eating away at me. Girls like me are invisible. And I was done with that. I was ready to live and be seen. What are you doing? Sorry. No, man. 1, 2. He unraveled me effortlessly. Like a sniper in the night, he spotted my inhibitions and tore through every wall I put up. Before I knew it, I was in his palm, under his spell. Everything happened so fast. I've celebrated with breakfast or dowry to certify this long way. There's something about sin that lingers in the heart and holds it. I'm in too deep. It's redemption beyond me. I know that's the only thing that will save me now. But something won't hit me. So I carry on in mechanical form, fulfilling the obligatory or vacant heart. Eyes gaze like a man when he pounced on me with skin hot with desire and blood boiling with temptation. I try tried to shake him back to reality, but he was gone and he took me with him. We flew. But what burns is the journey home. An afternoon with a mind engulfed within a mixture of questions and a bedsheet stained with sin, moments that cannot be taken back, trapped in this world of consequences and regrets and tomorrows that have come too soon. Only the woman carries the burden of this guilt. Who will break me free? Wash away the shame. The King of Kings is the most merciful, yet his simple creations are the harshest of judges.
Abs. Abdullah. Yeah, no, seriously though, I need to speak to you about something.
Huh? Ooh.
Alright, you know that friend you was with the other day? Okay, well, basically, one of the friends that you saw me with, they're kind of like...
Astaghfirullah, that is, hey. No, that's mad.
No, she's not like that. She's not like that. Like, I think this is her first time. She's in a wreck.
Are you mad? I didn't say the first time she's done it. How do you not listen? Sis, I understand, listen to me.
Listen, I'm telling you, like, she's my girl. Like, I know she's not about that life.
Just him and her in the house. Who does that? Free yourself from this. Trust me, sis. It will mash up your name. Don't hang around with her no more. I'm going to say anything. I'm not going to tell anyone for.
It just doesn't need to be going around about her or him.
Listen, I'm not going to say anything. What did I say? I told you I won't tell you. 1 second, someone's on the other line. Alright? Assalamu alaikum. Hey, you never guess what I just heard. Imagine. Listen.
I was the weaker one, so I went there, set up a witch hunt and made an example out of my most intimate moment. Whatever happened to the Muslim Brotherhood? The bond that ties us together, or did my heinous act void me over? Or maybe I was no longer worthy of the humanity. Yeah, I fell. Like the sun resting upon me, submerging the sky with a flaming red until darkness takes over. But they crucified me, brought forth judgment day right to my feet, stood on the pulpit, and poured out my sins, instead of merely saying, they dug me a grave and handed me the book. Who would have thought it would be this easy to yield to your instruction? One simple DM, one insignificant message that led me to a world's inflated. No one here wondering how. The person you see is no longer here. Something in me never quite recovered from that experience. Living became unbearable. Every breath was heavy, laden with shame and humiliation. All of
wanted was to be loved. Nothing else mattered, not even myself. I was willing to do anything to make him happy, even if it was in spite of myself, and in return, I was handed reality served on a cold dish.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, what you've just seen here is a short video that we put together, myself, people like Muslim Bilal, Masha, Maria Idrisi, a few years ago. We show this video, especially at the marriage conference, because today, one of the major reasons around the world where divorces are taking place is because of social media. For many of us, it's our life. On a daily basis, we expose, we share, we tell the world what we're up to and so forth, but we don't realize the impact and the consequence it has. So what we want to do is highlight through yourself. When you saw the story here, it was a simple text message that was sent. And through this message, the doors of fitna open up and zina takes place. And then beyond that, it's all about the greed, the jealousy, the kind of gossiping, the slander, the backbiting that happens. This is all social media. We have to be very, very careful, especially if we give these type of tools to our children and we have no idea how they're using it. So hopefully, inshallah, this was an awareness video that you will have benefited from, and inshallah, we'll be showing you more in the future events. Okay, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Just to give you a quick reminder, we have the counseling sessions as one of the breakout sessions. Please take advantage of it. We have very knowledgeable people that are going to discuss various issues that come up in marriage. And discretion, obviously, like we all know, is important, and they're well aware of that. May Allah make it easy. Shortly after the break, we will be playing the couples game, and yes, there is a reward for the winner of the game. However, we need 3 married couple to volunteer. We have our representatives in the audience, so if you are willing to volunteer, we need 3. Just talk to them and make yourself available. They'll bring you to our secretariat over here. May Allah make it easy. The next speaker is Brother Daud Bath. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ease his affairs. He's come all the way to come and impact on us. May Allah make it easy for him. I'll try to bring him on stage now. Please be warm towards him and give him a good welcome.
Live facilitator.
Your wife doesn't. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلوات الله وسلامه على نبيه الكريم عليه أفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. My brothers and my sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I want to begin by thanking you, alhamdulillah, jazakumullahu khairan, for inviting me here and for having me here in Nigeria for the very first time in my life, and hopefully it's not the last time. To be fair, I have been invited to Nigeria quite a few times in the past, and it just never coincided with my schedule. So hopefully, inshallah, now that my schedule is a lot more freed up, hopefully that, there'll be a few more visits. I always tell people, from the best places that I've traveled to, or from the places I want to continue to travel to and travel to more, there's one place on earth that I encourage myself and others to focus on, and it is the entire continent of Africa. And so jazakumullahu khairan for being here, for allowing us to be here, and for you being here as well. And that's simply one of the main reasons is because we feel the love and the connection to the deen from the people, not just the Muslims, but the non-Muslims as well. And I want to, just to let you know how it was coming into the country, and I'm going to ask you guys to get this mic on for me. Whoever's doing the sound, please. Maybe I should turn it on. Yeah, that works.
So as I was entering or coming off the airplane, I arrived in Abuja, alhamdulillah, and I was a little bit nervous. I was thinking to myself, because Sajid sent me this whole list in point form of things I need to do. 1, do this, 2, 3, 4. I was like, subhanallah, this is going to be a little bit challenging. And I know I've been to many countries on earth where when you enter the country, at times it's a little bit difficult. You get questioned, you get sometimes asked for bribery. And I was wondering how it would be when I arrived here in Nigeria. And subhanAllah, as soon as I arrived, I step off the plane and I see in the distance a bunch of officers. And one of them is staring at me, and I'm thinking, okay, either he knows me or he's going to pull me aside and I'm in trouble. Usually when an officer looks at you, it's because you're about to go into interrogation. So I just keep walking with the rest of the crowd, and he steps forward and he comes closer to me. He says, Sheikh Dawood Butt? I'm like, yes. He's like, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Nigeria. I was like, oh. I just gave him a hug. It was the most amazing welcome, subhanAllah. And I thought to myself, maybe he's like, okay, we know you were coming. Welcome to Nigeria. Here's the interrogation room. But he brought me over to a chair and he's like, please, have a seat. Hand me your passport. And he, subhanAllah, he went and he just took care of everything. And it was just absolutely amazing. So, jazakumullahu khairan. Now let's get down to the dating game. So in today's topic, we want to focus on some of the things that were just mentioned, and we just saw that in the video as well. How a small message, a text message, an Instagram post, a Facebook picture, it could be something that you notice on Twitter about someone else, changes or affects your life in such a drastic way because you allowed feelings to build up inside of you. And I want to share with you a few examples that will allow us to understand this a little more. Last month, there's a brother in our community who was married to his wife for 20 years, almost 21 years. He called her as he finished work on a Friday evening. He finished work and he was about to head home. He called, he said, I'm going to be home in 25 minutes. Make sure everything is ready. They have 2 children. They were going out for dinner. Their children are 15 and 17 years old, so they're not little kids. 10 minutes later, after he puts the phone down and starts driving home, his daughter calls him. He answers the phone. His daughter says, Baba, I'm performing CPR on Mom. She collapsed. The paramedics are on the way. Boom. Hangs up the phone. He's like, what? Gets back on the phone, calls, no one is answering, keeps calling, no one's answering the phone, because his daughter, she's 17, she's performing CPR on her mom, waiting for the paramedics to arrive. He reaches home, and he says there's 5 ambulances outside of his house, the fire truck, a couple of police cars. He can't even, park in front of his house. He parks at the end of his street, and he runs into his house. And he sees 11 paramedics performing CPR on his wife, taking turns one after the other. They quickly get her into the stretcher. They get her over to the hospital. They realize that she needs to be at a different hospital. They transport her to another hospital. In the process, she passed away. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. A few weeks later, he calls me in the middle of the night, around 2:33 a.m. I remember seeing the time specifically. He's like, Dawood, I don't know what to do. I'm at home, the kids are asleep, I've been cleaning, doing dishes, finished my work, helped them with their schooling, did the laundry. He's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to continue. How am I going to go on like this? It's so difficult. She filled such a big part of my life. Let's look at another example. The Prophet ﷺ was married to Khadija radiallahu anha, his first wife, his love, right? The Prophet ﷺ, we know very well in that example how much love and affection existed between the the Prophet ﷺ and his wife Khadija radiallahu anha. To the extent that when she passed away, that year was so hard upon the Prophet ﷺ that we coined it Aam al-Huzn. We consider that year the year of sadness, the year of sorrow, the year of hardship upon the Prophet ﷺ from an emotional perspective. The Prophet ﷺ went through such a difficult time in that year also because of the hardships that he faced with the loss of his uncle. And so when the Prophet ﷺ had this amazing wife with an amazing relationship and then lost her in his life, it was so hard for him to move forward that we consider that year a year of sadness for the Prophet ﷺ. But why was he so sad? One thing that we need to try and understand is that in our life, when we give our time, our feelings, our energy, our wealth, our happiness, our joy, our courage, our bravery, our weaknesses to our spouse, the love that is built in the process is so strong that we feel no one can replace it. And that's why I shared with you the example of that brother in our community. He feels at this point in time that no one and nothing can replace the feeling that he feels inside of him except his wife who is no longer with him. And so my brothers and sisters, when we think of love and we think of relationships and we think of marriage, many of us wonder, how can I develop such a strong relationship with someone just as the Prophet ﷺ did? Where I will feel as though this person, when they're no longer with me, like I don't know what to do. And the point is not to try and develop that. The point is not to wish that one day you're going to be alone. Absolutely not. The point is, how do we find the right person? How do I know that when I lose my spouse, I'm not going to be like, oh, alhamdulillah, right? How do I know that when I lose my spouse, I'll be like, finally, I can eat some decent food, right? How do I know that when these are thoughts that run through the mind of every single person before they get married. Choosing the right spouse. Now let's look at the example of the Prophet ﷺ. When he lost Khadija radiallahu anha, was there someone else for him to compare to? When you compare the world nowadays and how people get to know one another, the dating game, you start to date someone, you get to know them, you talk to them over social media, your parents don't know, it's going down in the DM, right? You guys know what that means? Who knows what that means? Raise your hand if you know what that means. Who does not know what that means? Raise your hand. You don't know what it means? I usually pick on the older generation, as in people who are 30 and up. Right? 30 and up. When you say it's going down in the DM, they're like, huh, what is this thing? They're trying to figure out, what does that mean? The younger generation knows. Who knows what it means? It's going down in the DM. Raise your hand. Don't be shy. I'm not going to question you. Just raise your hand so we know. Yeah, they're like, he's going to ask us something. It's going down in the DM means I'm sending private messages to him or her. DM is direct message. It's not on a social platform where others can see it. It's not on a WhatsApp group. It's not on Twitter. It's not on Facebook. It's a direct message. And it's going down in the DM, right? Now you know. So subhanAllah, this term that is going down in the DM is mentioned in songs nowadays, right? I don't listen to music, but I know I have to keep myself updated with what the youth are going through. And subhanAllah, when we see that the younger generation thinks that they can hide behind the backs of others, don't fool yourselves, because the only ones we are fooling are our own selves. We are developing emotions and feelings for someone who may not be there for us tomorrow. And this whole thing about dating is so interesting that you never really understand it until after you've gotten married. When a person gets married after, let's just say, courting a few people, right? I learned this term courting is a little bit more appropriate, my mother-in-law says, right? She's, 77 now. So she's like, courting is not dating. It's getting to know someone, but getting to know them on a very personal basis. You're spending time giving this person your emotions, but also making place in your heart for that person. Now what happens when they turn you down? They turn you down, you get sad, you move on. You now start to develop feelings for someone else. And over some time, they turn you down, you move on, and you get over it. Many years later, you now get married. And the very first argument that you have with your wife, you start to compare her, or your husband, right? I usually pick on the brothers on this one. But the very first argument that you have with your spouse, in the back of your mind, you start to think, oh, maybe Khadija wouldn't have been this way. Maybe Fatima wasn't going to be that way. You know what? I cannot imagine that Sumayya would have yelled at me like my wife is yelling at me today. She was so soft, right? So when you start to compare people in your mind, you start to lose respect for the person that you are with. And that creates this huge problem for husband and wife, because then emotions start to become reserved within us. Let's take another example. I do a lot of counseling in our community, and there was one couple who was on the verge of divorce. Uncle Idris is not here, but he was saying, if someone is on the verge of divorce and they call him, there's not going to be any divorce. They were on the verge of divorce, so much so that throughout the day, the husband came to see me. Then I spoke to the wife. I spent about 4 or 5 hours that day just with the two of them. And I thought to myself in the evening, you know what, there's one thing that's going to work with these two. And I literally got in my car at 9 o'clock at night. I drove over to their house, and I called the husband on his phone while I'm standing in front of their door. They had no idea that I was going to come. I called the husband, and I asked him, I said, what are you doing? He's like, nothing, just sitting in the living room. I was like, open the door, I'm standing outside. He's like, what? He opens the door, and I'm standing there. He's like, is everything okay? I go, yeah. Can I come in? He's like, sure, come in. I go inside. I'm like, where's your wife? He goes, she's upstairs. I'm like, can you just ask her to come down? He's like, is everything okay? Now he thinks his wife is about to ask for divorce, because throughout the day, he knows I was dealing with him and I was dealing with her, and he has no idea what we spoke about, like myself and her. And so he was really, really nervous at this point in time. His wife comes downstairs. She's confused as well. So I start to ask him some questions. One of the questions I ask both of them is, what is it that you love about your husband? What is it that you love about your wife? And you know how Uncle Idris mentioned that sister who came with a book of arguments? They had argued about each other to me for the last 2 years. Now, I'm asking them, can the two of you tell me what it is that you love about each other? What is it that there has to be something that you hold on to. And so the husband listed like 10, 15 things. Alhamdulillah, she was impressed. She was sitting there going, whoa, like you actually noticed these things about me? And then the wife, when she started, she said about 3 or 4 words, put her hands to her face, and started to cry like tomorrow was not going to happen. She started to cry so much and shifted her answer and started to say, I never pictured my life without you. I began my marriage life with you, and I never ever pictured what life would be like after you were no longer in that picture. And I said, but no one is talking about divorce right now. I said, just tell me what it is that you love about him. She's like, I love everything about him. I will do anything for him. I will be there for him. I will change myself for him. I will give everything to make this relationship work. Why? She's an example of a sister that never gave her feelings to another person. She never shared her love aside from the love for her parents and her siblings and so on, she never shared those deep emotions with any other person, and she can't imagine sharing those emotions with anyone else. And she cried and cried and cried until we calmed her down. And that, my brothers and sisters, actually fixed their relationship. He realized how much love she has for him. And she realized how much love he has for her. When he listed all of those things out, he listed particular things, details about their relationship that he never mentioned before. Which brings us to a really important point in a relationship: communication. You see, we live in this world where we communicate online. Some of you are holding your phones right now, right? Some of you are on Instagram right now as I'm speaking. How many of you are on Instagram? Raise your hand. Those of you that are laughing are on Instagram, right? We share so much of our life with others. You take a picture of the bouquet of flowers in front of you and posted it on Instagram when you came in today, didn't you? Right? You took a picture of the venue and shared it with others. You took a picture of Uncle Idris and Sheikh Yahya and whoever else came up on stage and shared it with others to show other people that you're here, you are experiencing something that they aren't. Now, whatever we do and however we did it, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the person who is seeing what you posted. There is somewhere on earth someone who is going to see the beautiful picture that you posted of those flowers sitting on the table in front of you, who might assume that those flowers were given to you by someone who is sharing their life with you. And they don't have what you have right now in your life. Not knowing that you don't have that in your life as well, because I don't think you can take those home, right? Unless the MC allows you to. Please leave those here so we don't have to pay more for the venue afterwards, right? But they think that your life is so beautiful. They think that your life is filled with joy. And you'll see people, you might do it, I might do it, I think we probably all do it. We see people online, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever social media platforms we use, we see people going through nice things in their life. And we want it as well. We see it and we admire it and we enjoy it. Yesterday when I was picked up from the airport, we were driving to the hotel and I was telling Abdullahi, you guys don't say Abdullah, you say Abdullahi, right? I was telling Abdullahi, where is he? I was like, I need to get one of these Nigerian kubes. You know what a kube is? Sisters, you don't know a kube? They're like, yes, we do. Do you speak English? Okay, I'm just wondering because I'm talking and no one's responding. It's like Uncle Idris was saying, you know, it's like janazah going on in here, subhanAllah. This is marriage. Marriage is supposed to be happy, right? So I was telling you, I want to get one of these Nigerian kubes. So beautiful, so nice. Like when you wear it, it's like this is an official who has just entered the room, right? Because your deep voices and big hats and alhamdulillah. It's nice, you admire it. But the reality is, my brothers and sisters, not every single one of us is going to live the life of another person. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you your life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you your wife. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you your husband. And if you don't have a husband and you don't have a wife, then make sure that you register later on for soul seekers, right? Because we have a good number of sisters who's registered, but some of the brothers, miskeen. Right? So make sure that, subhanAllah, in your relationships, you don't look for something that another person has. Make your relationship work for you. We live in this hypersexualized world. Over 10 years ago, I was in France, in Paris. There's this billboard outside. I can't describe it to you because it's X-rated. It's like censored. It should not be but just to give you an example, the billboard had nothing to do with a woman. But the biggest thing that you can see on the billboard is a woman. It was about a product that's down in the corner, really small. And the billboard had this woman who's spread out across it, and she's wearing no clothing. Maybe this isn't a reality in Nigeria. And we hope that it doesn't become a reality in Nigeria. But the world is changing so fast. When you think of it, 10 years ago, that was a billboard that I saw in a country many people probably have never gone to and maybe never will go to. But now, in your hand, you are holding something that delivers even more than what you would see on that billboard, and it's in your hand right now. Access to so many things that are haram, that are completely harmful to us as human beings, that we think, oh, I'm just looking at something. You'll learn from our brother Wa'il very soon, subhanAllah. He's done so much research on this topic, how harmful it is to us when we see things and admire things that we don't have. And in my opinion, it doesn't just stop at pornography. It extends further. You see someone eating a burger and you crave to have that burger. You see someone eating or going somewhere with someone or in a beautiful place and you crave to be there. I know right now that when I was leaving Canada, people were like, oh, you're going to Nigeria, be careful. You're going to Nigeria, be careful. You're going to Nigeria, be careful. Everyone's telling me, be careful, be careful. I come over here, I'm like, wow, Nagode. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And when I take pictures, like now I was posting pictures, people who know me from back home were messaging me saying, wow, Nigeria is amazing. It's beautiful, it's nice. Everyone wishes to have what someone else has. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you. You have your life to live. You have your time to give. You are the person that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the opportunity to mold and to be in a certain way that will come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My brothers and sisters, when we watch all of these things happening on social media, it affects our hearts. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبُ. That the dhikr, the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what grants us calm, ease, and soothing feelings in our hearts. Our heart is precious. Don't give it to someone else who doesn't share it. Don't allow a single person to tarnish our hearts. When you look at the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he teaches us to constantly do adhkar, to constantly seek forgiveness, to cleanse our hearts, to purify our heart from the black dot of the sin that was placed there. So why fill it with something that is going to be harmful to us? Remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fill your heart with goodness. And my brothers and sisters, a person who doesn't care to come and speak to you in the privacy of a DM, a direct message, or the privacy of a special location in a parking lot, or someone who doesn't care that your parents would get upset with you speaking to them, but they just want to speak to you privately, is someone who doesn't care about your heart. Because the Prophet ﷺ teaches us, on the Day of Judgment there will be 7 categories of people that will be shaded. Now you imagine, you're sitting there right now. Any one of you, if I was to invite you up here and put your face right in front of these lights, you would want shade from the light. On the Day of Judgment, the sun will be so close to us that we will be drowning in our sins. As in the sweat that is dripping off of us will resemble the amount of sins that we've committed in our lives. And from the people that will be shaded from the sun, alhamdulillah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from those people, right? Ameen. From the people that are shaded on that day is the person who is invited by someone else to commit haram. رَجُلٌ دَعَتْهُ إِمْرَأَةٍ ذَاتُ مَنْصِبٍ وَجَمَالٍ. A man, and it could be a woman, right? A person who is invited. And in the example in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says, a man who is being invited by a woman of extreme beauty and status. Someone who has status, someone who has beauty, someone who you're like, oh, you know what, if I marry her, I'll be set for life, I'll have everything. But you're not thinking of marriage right now. You're thinking of being in a relationship with her that is completely against what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. But that person is being invited, and they get closer to the sin. They get closer to the sin, as in they get closer to one another, and they're about to indulge in what is haram. And they remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they say, Inni akhafullah. And they move away from the sin. That doesn't mean that the other person is a sin. It means the action they were about to commit between the two of them is a sinful action. It does not mean that the other person is a sin. I want you to get that clear in your minds. But because you love that person so much, a love that is for the sake of Allah, you move away from that person and you say, no, for the sake of you and I being shaded on the day of judgment, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fear His punishment. Let's get out of this relationship. My brothers and sisters, there could be someone sitting here right now. One of us. It could be you who right now, while hearing this example given to us by the Prophet ﷺ, tells themselves, Inni akhafullah. I'm backing away from this. That relationship I'm in with the person who I was messaging 15 minutes ago before this lecture started, I'm done with them. For the sake of Allah, for the sake of being shaded, for the sake of my protection, for the sake of their protection. Because if we love that person so much, we shouldn't just love them in this world. We want to love them so much that they get to Jannah. And so if we love that person so much that we want them to achieve and attain Jannatul Firdaus, I should have the guts to tell them, I can no longer speak to you. I prefer that you go to paradise than the two of us go through hardships in the hereafter. So please, let's stop this relationship. My brothers and sisters, it's that serious. We need to learn to take these active steps in our lives to purify ourselves and come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I have two more things that I want to share, inshallah. The first one is a key word. In any lecture, anywhere you go, there's going to be a lot of information given to you that is hard to retain. Because as soon as I'm done my lecture, Sheikh Abu Isa is coming up here, and he's a power horse in his lectures, and subhanAllah, you're going to forget everything that I said. So I'm going to make it easy for you to forget everything that he said, and just remember one thing that I said. Sorry, Sheikh. Keyword. Communication. For those of you that are not married, communication. You'll need to communicate after marriage, right? That's important. Any marriage is not going to be a happy marriage without communication. That's difficult. But before marriage, communication is so important. If you are a parent sitting in this room, then make sure that you begin from today communicating with your children, especially if they've reached the age of 15. About marriage. Start talking to them. Ask them, what are your interests? What are you looking for? Someone tall, someone short, right? Someone from Nigeria, someone from this part of Nigeria, from Lagos, from Abuja. What type of person are you looking for? Begin to open those channels of communication. And if you are young and you're looking to get married and you don't know how to speak to your parents, ask anyone who's married. Eventually you need to. So let's make it easy. Who here has a parent who has a cell phone? Anyone whose parents have a cell phone or a mobile phone, stand up. Anyone whose parents, don't worry, just so we know how many of your parents actually use phones, right? Stand up if your parents have a phone. Anyone whose parent has a phone, just stand up. And if you're not standing up, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is our witness. See? Whoa, look at that. All of a sudden, it was like an explosion just came like a wave. So this is what we're going to do. In order to communicate, those of you whose parents have a phone, stay standing. Those of you who have a phone, but your parents are alive, and you're not married, stand up as well. Okay, everyone's already standing. So this is what we're going to do. I want you to begin communicating with your parents by typing something to them. And it has nothing to do with you getting married. Okay? I want you to take your phones right now, open it up, send this text message to your parents. I want you to type it and then send it. Hurry up, because they're going to kick me off very soon. Abu Isa is going to charge at me. Right? Let's go. Type this. Ina sunku. Did I say it right? Yeah? Sheikh Nuruddin, did I say it right? Ina sunku. If you don't know what it means, just write, I love you. And push send and sit down. You know what you just did? Your parents are going to write back and say, what's wrong? Is everything okay? Right? Do you need some money? You just tell me how much you need. I'll put it in your bank. Don't worry. Right? They will give it to you, whatever you need. This is the first key to communication with your parents. They will ask you, why are you telling me that you love me? Say, I was at this lecture and I heard that I need to communicate with you more because you're my parents or you're my child. I need to begin communicating with you about marriage. جزاكم الله خيرا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
MashaAllah.
May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you. Quickly before Sheikh Abu Isa takes the stage, the wudu section for the men remains on your right. The mobile toilets are there. There are mobile toilets in the back. And then there's the eating section there. There are people with food and all of that there. The women's toilet is to the back. You go towards your left, exit and go towards the back. And then there are mobile toilets at the back as well. We go on break by 1, bi'idhnillah, for Zuhr, and then eating, and then we resume by 1:20. The breakout sessions resume, the therapy session resumes. Please register for the therapy sessions. It will be most beneficial. We have not gotten our volunteers yet for the couples game. We're still waiting for people to volunteer. So we'll keep announcing until we get 3 couples. There's something to win at the end of it, and I promise you it's something you'll appreciate. Having said all of that, let me welcome on stage Sheikh Isa. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring you on stage with salam. Sorry.
The Love Doctor.
Sheikh Abu Isa. Please, I'm watching for the time on your right. Let me help you with that.
This is off, yeah?
Yeah, you can put it on. Okay.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وصلوات الله وسلامه على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك يا رب الكريم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. What a day, Nigeria. What a great pleasure for me and a great honor. For the longest time I've been wanting to come to Nigeria, and now for the longer time I want to get home alive. Yani, as long as that Abu Bakr Shakao doesn't find me, then
my old foe, my old friend and foe, who's probably looking for me right now, but it's okay, alhamdulillah, mashallah, I see the army's outside, so we should be all right. I never thought I'd make it here, but subhanallah. It's a great blessing. It's a great blessing because my normal background with respect to kind of Asian, or Pakistani specifically, British born, is that we generally live within our own communities. So Indian Gujarati Muslims who are British live in their own kind of Gujarati enclaves, Pakistanis likewise, Indians likewise, Bengalis, Somalis, etc. But my upbringing was a little bit different, and I moved about quite a bit, and I was brought up with some very important Nigerian friends. And they had a major impact upon me, in terms of my deen. And that's interesting because in the West especially, and there's a in Nigeria, etc., it's a limp. Yani limp and relaxed, and just to go with the people, flow with the people, let them carry you effectively. And it works. I know that sounds really crazy, but all of my group will all touch the Rukn Yamani, every single shalt, yani every single tawaf that they make of the 7, by using this principle, by allowing themselves to move with the crowd and then going in between the gaps, but never tensing, never, trying to contract muscles. All right, so they asked me to speak about, they called it My Big Fat Wedding, of a Greek wedding or something like that, from 10, 20 years ago. And I guess it's trying to indicate the importance of people getting ready for this big day. So that's just a title. What I'd like to speak about is just the importance of making the right decisions and understanding the responsibilities that we're getting into when it comes to marriage. And the truth is that there's never been in history as a percentage from our communities, so even though population has increased, it's not doing great from a PR point of view for a number of reasons, because people are starting to enjoy life a lot more of those responsibilities and problems that make things difficult. And so to have a sexual partner or a partner that you enjoy time with, or a person that you enjoy time with, is far more easier and fulfilling and less strings attached, etc., etc. And so, of course, wider society has been practicing that for a long time, promoted it more and more. Muslims are part of wider society, evolved at a practical point. Hard work and blocks that you create your house on, it's not the love, the defying stuff that people really want. And I think that's because there's an idea that the love doctor is a phrase which, it's like a romantic phrase, the love doctor. I can tell you I am definitely not that guy. I'm definitely not that doctor. I'm the colorectal specialist. I'm that kind of doctor which basically when you see and I start doing this, that's the kind of doctor. Teachers that I teach, floating around, love knows, talking about his wife and holidays and... This is not how the real world is. Pull me out there. And that's why I teach you the fiqh of finance. People are asleep within half an hour. And I teach the fiqh structure of the concepts of marriage, the reasons we get married for, completely misunderstood, and that's why there are so many people who are afraid of marriage, and that's why divorce in the Muslim community is at a record rate. I'm speaking more about this, and divorce and difficulty, and making sure that we don't, and Hollywood is, so what's Hollywood? Witchcraft. So the mystic kind of that's his dominant product, huh? That's not a bad starting point, because you need a lot of that kind of witchcraft to get through the mood swings of marriage, probably, yeah. This isn't recorded, this is not going to hear this, yeah? No broadcasting. That's the reason why it's confusing, right? From a Sharia point of view, Muslims are very different from Christianity. When you get married in Christianity, the guy comes along and he goes in sickness and in health, then until death do us part. Right? So not only are you going to be tortured when in marriage, but you have to be tortured until you die. Yeah, amazing, subhanAllah. Amazing. So from the mercy of Islam is that this was completely removed from it and divorce was given as an option. The problem is, of course, is that people path to take from the Sunnah. And I want you to go away from this conference with a number of key concepts, hidden amongst all the mess and the jokes and all the whatever. There are a few things. Communication, because Dawood's obviously obsessed with you guys wandering down and it getting lost, so let me just tell you, communication and communication. I hope Dawood is happy now that everybody will remember communication. From my point of view though, the idea of divorce is that in principle it is haram. For in the Sharia, divorce fil asl, it is haram. Ibn Taymiyyah wrote an essay about divorce and he said, and I quote, al-asl warned against him to be avoided. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only allowed it ala qadr al-haja. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only allowed it to the extent of the absolute need for it. That's the asl. Despite the fact, and I know that people memorize this hadith, that abghad al-halal al-talaq, that the most hated of the halal actions to Allah is divorce. This hadith was never said by the Prophet ﷺ. It is not a hadith which is authentic. And we shouldn't put men and women into one another to create futures and a legacy, to build the population and to focus. And they say it's all about, making the Ummah of Muhammad ﷺ big and building strong armies and making sure that we are the dominant, and they make it pretty cold and make it a number thing. The only mistake they made is they focused too much on that. But it is definitely an objective, because the Nabi ﷺ advised men to marry those who are fertile and those who are increasingly fertile. And of course men were advised to marry more than, not advised, were allowed. Let me put my story straight out. I know you guys love your polygamy. Or maybe you guys on the right don't like the polygamy, but these guys on the left love their polygamy. I'm on the right here, by the way. It's only because it's never going to happen, by the way. I'm biased, it's never going to happen. So, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that I want to come on the Day of Judgment with the largest ummah, etc., etc. So that is correct, that it is the number one objective, but he did say that they are a libas for you and you are a libas for them. Libas we all translate as clothes. It's not clothes actually, libas. And labs means something far more closer to the body, far more sensual, far more trusting. Libas should be translated as, actually, I'm speaking to folks I don't even know, shaddas and whatever, all nice and tight and mashallah. But when we go to bed, you wear like tracky bottoms that are torn and, t-shirts and stuff. Pajamas which are very soft of material and very flexible. That's what a libas is. You're meant to be very intimate with one another, tender, understanding, flexible. I.e. is about the long term. I.e. is about companionship. I.e. is about trust. Those are actual in of themselves reasons which is not given enough focus, and these objectives are not first and foremost when it comes to people getting married, let alone their wedding. And it's a cliche nowadays, and they take, a class, or read a book, or watch a YouTube video to help years later that are going to follow. And by the way, survive normally, it'll be a joke because you're about to die in a marriage and blah, 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 ha, ha, ha. But it actually is survival. It is survival, because survival doesn't necessarily mean that marriage is a disaster, but survival means that you are now moving from after yourself and other people. And that is a major cultural shock for people. They're not used to. You're not used to sleeping in a bed with you are number one, you have to treat yourself as number two. These are things which you're not used to. It doesn't have to be miserable, but it's things that you're not used to, and that makes it difficult. And really the people who are of the Sunnah, they don't just look for survival, they look to thrive. They are wanting to increase in what they used to be, whether or for your deen, because of the greater stability that you have, because of being able to remain halal. That's why we don't have monasticism, haram. Unlike the Prophet ﷺ is not known to be al-mu'takif throughout his life, but only in certain periods. Alone for the majority of the day. They're making the more sexual side. And it's only the men that care about that. And there's some truth in that, but again, it's bringing knowledge to this issue, making sure you're prepared. My whole point here is that
if you are looking to get married, stop worrying too much about the wedding day or the wedding, and start really investing into understanding how the Sunnah views you and your wife, or you and your husband, from a human point of view, from an insaniya point of view, from an anthropology point of view, in the way that people think. Because these are the skills that will make your relationship last. Understanding one another, understanding why you get married. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gave us a head start in this. He said, تُنْكَحُ الْمَرْءُ لِأَرْبَعَ. A woman is married for 4 reasons, and as the scholars said, this is also extended to men as well. So the woman should also think about this in the man. But the hadith focuses on women because of the reasons that you should see. لجمالها ولمالها ولحسبها ولدينها فاظفر ذات الدين تربت يداك. She's married for her wealth, for her lineage, her family, for her beauty and for her deen, but really grab, فاظفر, grab that one that you can see that their deen is shining out of all of the others. Tarabat yadak. Tarabat yadak is translated as may your hand become dusty. It basically means may you be blessed. Because the dust, turab, is blessed. We use it as a tahur. Allah has made it pure for us to pray. We ablute ourselves with it, etc., etc. May you be blessed. So you will be blessed by the dua of the Prophet ﷺ for choosing out of 4 halal correct options. All halal is halal to marry a man or woman for their beauty and their money and their lineage and their deen. But those who focus on deen will be the ones who will win. Not those people who focus on the marriage, it's the wedding itself, and what's the people going to say, and what how much money I can take from that family. Famous story, Sufyan ibn Uyayna, one of the imams, the major imams of the Salaf. There are 2 Sufyans, everybody knows, Sufyan al-Thawri and Sufyan ibn Uyayna. Sufyan ibn Uyayna, more in hadith, more towards Mecca. He was asked by a person who came to him and said to him, I want to ask you a question, I have a problem. I am, in the eyes of my wife, the most adhal wa ashtar shakhs. Like, I'm detested. Like, I'm more detestable in her eyes than any other person that she sees. She hates me. Well, how can I deal with this? What happened? And Ibn Uyayna, Yahya ibn Yahya al-Naysapuri is narrating this. He goes that Sufyan ibn Uyayna, his head dropped, and he was thinking like he didn't want to say what he said. It only becomes clear at the end why he didn't want to say this. So he said, did you marry your wife in order to become more respected in society? لِحَسَبِهَا, one of the options in the hadith. And he said, yes, she was a noble woman, and I wanted to be able to ensure that I get married to someone, I come from a noble family too, and I wanted to find the most noble person I could get whatever I could achieve. And Sufyan goes, no one sought honor and lineage except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will trial them with disgrace. So no one seeks that kind of dunya kind of status except that Allah disgraces them. Then he carried on, and no one seeks wealth except that Allah will test them with poverty. And no one will seek beauty except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will test them with the opposite. So choose that which you will not be tested with, which is deen, and you will achieve both a deen wal izzah. You will achieve religious objectives and you will have honor as well. Then he paused. The reason I find this very interesting is because very, very rarely, and the students of knowledge and the scholars will know about this, very rarely do we have in the aqwal of the Salaf them ever sharing a personal story. Sufyan ibn Uyayna says, we are 4 brothers. We are Muhammad, we are Ibrahim, Imran, and myself. Imran, he got married to a woman that he chose, and he wanted to be the most honored. And Muhammad got married for wealth reasons. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested them in the ways that I've just mentioned to you. I decided to go for the one because who had good deen, and so far we're doing okay. He didn't say, you know, I'm singing and dancing, whatever, but we're doing okay. What I want you to know is that people who are inexperienced, people who are, you know, because this is really pre-marriage, this talk. This is about making sure that you guys have got your head screwed on. And I say this now to the men. Like beauty, لِجْمَالِهَا, the first thing. Men are far more attracted to beauty than women are. Again, that's not to say that women, you know, should just be condemned to, you know, to some miserable old sack of potato shape and handsome and someone who looks after himself. Ibn Abbas used to say that I look after myself like I expect my wife to look after me. It's a sunnah to look after yourself. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was regularly perfuming himself, looking after his beard, oiling this. He liked to look his best for his wives, and that is a sunnah. But there's no doubt that the woman herself, she is a zina. You know, it's not just that she loves beauty, she is beauty. And men are very, very visual. This is genetically speaking. And beauty will turn on a man far more than beauty will turn on a woman. So a woman looks more for characteristics. What makes a man for a woman is not necessarily that he's the best looking. That's a bonus. It's leadership, it's quality, it's control, it's that ability to take over and to show and take responsibility, etc., etc., with a great desire, of course, for the physical too. However, for the man, unfortunately, he goes mad for looks and shape and so on and so forth. And we all know that these things are temporary. I say to the brothers here that if you are about to get married and your marriage is going to all be about trying to find the most beautiful woman that you can find, then this is temporary. You're going to get married and it's going to be great for a couple of days or even the first day. Then you're going to wake up at 4 o'clock and see Fajr face, yeah? You know what I'm saying? That's like a real, and I know that he looks worse, but don't worry, he looks bad too. Everybody looks rough at that time. You start to realize that this wasn't all what it turned out to be. You're starting to think, hold on, maybe going the single route is better. Maybe sticking around with girlfriends and unrestricted relationships and so on. There's a massive difference in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala between those who do the haram at the single level and those who join in matrimony for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's a massive difference in society as well between girlfriend and a wife. You know the difference, right? Probably about 20 kilos. You guys are just too slow on that one. It will take some time to settle in. لِدِينِهَا is the one that you need to focus on. Not upon how rich she is, not upon how famous or how respected a family is, because you will always be reminded of who you are if you try to go for someone like that. You know, a lot of the problems right now are happening because men are unable to deal with the feminism that is your enemy. It's your inability to be able to deal with a different set of circumstances surrounding your wife. Financial independence has changed women's attitudes towards men, and men can't handle it. That's one of the main reasons for domestic abuse. It's one of the main reasons for divorce that we're seeing. And it's true. If you are not able to look after your wife and make her feel honored and respected and powerful enough while you are the one who is meant to be looking after her, because it's your responsibility, بِمَا فَضَّلَ اللَّهُ بَعْضَهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ وَبِمَا أَنفَقُوا مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ. Allah has said that الرِّجَالُ قَوَّامُونَ عَلَى النِّسَاءِ because of these reasons. Because of what you spend from your wealth on them. If you're not doing it properly and you're not looking after them, what did you expect? If you're going around and treating them like just rags and divorcing left, right and center, what did you expect them to do? A woman who leaves her education, leaves her career, all for your sake, to develop your family, and because you just found another beautiful woman or someone who's better looking, she gets divorced. She's lost her career, left her education that she left for your sake. Now she is financially in a bad state. 20 years ago, we used to say, no, we don't recommend women following the career path. No, we don't recommend going out in the corporate world. No, we don't recommend. Now I hesitate. Now I pause. I don't want to say that I'm sending all the women out there to go and be in the working force like the way it is, but I pause. And the reason for that is because there's a huge increase in divorce where they will now be left with nothing. Then they're now begging from the state or begging for alimony from the husband, and it's not coming. So they have to have something to fall back on. Because they're so scared of their inability to be able to look after themselves, they become subservient to all of the abuse from the husband's side. And now the women are now starting to educate themselves, and they're now dealing with this scenario where they've got more money than ever before, and that's created now a problem on their side. So the men have been doing the abusing, and now women have got this unbridled power, and they are not now knowing how to control and keep themselves calm in a relationship where they are now more powerful than ever before, and men are being forced into a new part, which is something that they had to learn and some part that they shouldn't need to learn. So a woman who has money and power needs to recognize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in asal gave that position to them. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the man to not be in a situation where he is dependent upon a woman. And if you are emphasizing that part of your relationship, you will lose that man. Women need to understand that. These are the things that people need to really prepare, how to understand. Before I get married, instead of focusing on the wrong thing, the one day, focus on what's going to become the major issues that are going to be causing problems between us over the next 30. People focusing on mahr. It's a disgrace what happens in society, and in Nigeria is no worse. I've been speaking to the brothers here, trying to understand the kind of figures that people are talking about of what they expect for the dowry. It's crazy. And in the Muslim world, it's crazy. If you look at the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, you see balance. You have either the ultra-religious community that are saying, no mahr needed, just tell me an ayah from the book of Allah or something like that, this romanticism. Or give me an iron ring, because the Prophet ﷺ said, the khairun nikah aysaruha, that the best of the marriages are the easiest. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not mean by that you don't give the woman any kind of merit, any monetary, meaningful sum. He didn't mean that. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that is not what he said. What he said is that the best of marriages are the easiest, those that have the least conditions, the least headaches, the least ego, the least problems. When he married Fatima, how long do I have left? How long do I have? Behave yourself. Let me finish this point. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he married Fatima to Ali radiallahu an, he went straight up to him and said, give her something. Imagine that. Normally when you're wanting some money, you are wanting security. He knows Ali better than anyone. There's nothing to worry about. Not like the community that we have, which is paying 30 years, delayed mahr or whatever. Give her something. And this is Ali, his own flesh and blood, for Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha. And he said, Wallah ma indi shay. Wallah, I have nothing. I have nothing, you know. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam poses and he goes, Adir al-Hatamiyya, give the suit of armor that you have. Ali is a warrior, by the way. Ali is a warrior. When you see him in battle, and the stories of him in battle, he's the guy, in the films when you see two teams, two armies, they line up, and they send their best warriors forward, 1-1, for a duel, to set up the scene. Ali, Hamza, these are the kind of people that go forward. So he's dependent upon that. And he has a very heavy set of armor. So Prophet ﷺ didn't say, give a penny or recite an ayah or something like that. When it was his choice for his daughter and his spoken advice to someone that would listen, he said, go and give that. So he did. He sold it. 480 dirham. 480 dirham, some riwayat say 400. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told him to get her, tayyib, dresses, perfume, all that kind of stuff, and mata'a, furnishings, with that. So you do look after the woman, it's not some joke. At the same time, it's not a silly sum of money. 480 dirhams in old money, in new money, is about 400 pounds. 400 to 500 pounds. In naira, it's about 200,000 naira. That is the sunnah. Umar bin Khattab, and I finish with this, I know I keep saying this. Umar bin Khattab, in his khutbah, the famous khutbah, he said, when he saw the situation getting out of control, marriage is getting out of control, mahr getting out of control, he said, I stand in front of you right now, and I say to you that the sadaqah, the dowry, the mahr, if it was something that made someone mukarram fi dunya or taqwa inda Allah fil akhirah, if it was something that honored a person in the dunya, or it meant that they had more taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the Prophet ﷺ would have been awla bihim. He would have been the one who would have been most eager for that. But he never married any of his wives, and he never gave any of his daughters for a mahar more than 12 uqiyah. 12 uqiyah is 480 dirham. Never did he insist on a mahar more than that. General message is what? It's a sunnah to take the marriage seriously in terms of mahar, but not make it so difficult. It is a obligation, not a sunnah, to stop focusing upon the marriage itself, your big happy wedding, and to focus on all the issues that are going to be a real challenge afterwards. Preparation is not for one day, preparation is for the 50 years afterwards. That's what you need to do, and in my final session, that is what I will be covering. This was just the beginning. Bismillah. And Jazakumullah khair. Communication, I think Dawood wants you to remember, yeah? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. We're still breaking by one, but however, we don't have much time, so I would like to call on Sister Zahra to come on stage. Sahrawi. She will be addressing us before we go on break, bi'iznillah.
Marriage author.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربي زدني علما آمين. Next slide, please. I have a PowerPoint and I don't have a clicker, so bear with me. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most magnificent, all praise is due to Allah, Lord of the universe. We praise Him and we seek His help and forgiveness, and we seek His protection from the cursed Satan. Whomever Allah guides will never be misguided, and whomever He allows to be misguided will never be guided. I bear witness that there's no deity worthy of worship except Allah, who's one alone and has no partners. And I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His servant and messenger. May the blessings of Allah be upon him, his family, his companions, and the righteous who follow them until the day of judgment. Ameen. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. MashaAllah, I only heard Uncle Idris. Everybody else, and he's from South Africa, so you guys, Nigeria didn't represent. We'll do this one more time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Okay, so I'm going to start off with a little story. We can go to the first slide. My topic is called Monster In-Laws. And so before you judge it, I'm going to start with a little uplifting story. She said, my mother-in-law didn't just accept me as her son's spouse. She loved me and was kind to me. She baked me my first homemade cake. And when we couldn't have children and we decided to adopt, she never treated my children unequal. She filled the mom vacancy and taught our son about uncompromising love, compassion, and how to bake a mean chocolate chip cookie. When we adopted our second son, she devoted to him as well as no woman has ever been. She's fearless, honorable, gracious. She does good and advocates for everyone in her life because that's the right thing to do. All right, bismillah. Next slide, please. So, what is monster in-laws? Right now, around the world, their statistics show that 1 out of 4 in-laws are not happy with their daughter-in-law. And usually it's going to be the mother-in-law. So they named it monster in-law originally, but nowadays we've got, father-in-laws into this as well. So why is this a topic that needs to be discussed? Because subhanAllah, there's many factors to it. Number one, we're dealing with a real situation, and it is an important matter not just for the daughter-in-laws, but also the mother and father-in-law. I mean, we've seen it a lot, maybe with our own eyes, and the abuse of it, of daughter-in-laws, has become increasing. And not just in different countries, but I'm talking about even in the Western countries. I remember a few months back, a woman went back home. She found her son a wife. She had only one son. She was super happy. Now, this is the only child she has. She's widowed. And now, alhamdulillah, her son's married. Well, alhamdulillah, she came to America. A few months into the marriage, I see this young woman, and I see her at the masjid, and I'm all excited. I'm like, hey. And when I see her, I see scars on her face. So we're thinking, what's going on? It's either the son, domestic violence, someone's been hitting this woman. And I was shocked. I said, in America, where you can call 911 and you're going to get arrested and you're going to have a case and you're going to have this and that, but this is the reality of it. And unfortunately, we found out later on that it was the mother-in-law, because she wasn't happy that for whatever reason, Allah Azza wa Jalla was not giving them a child, and it was a test for them. And she was blaming the daughter-in-law, astaghfirullah. So this topic is an important topic for us to understand and to know our rights, our in-laws' rights, and the boundaries of it according to the Sharia, inshallah. Next slide, please. Okay. Oh, it's behind me, sorry. All right, so how to deal with them in Islam is giving them their rights, right? So if you have your in-laws living with you, it's not just the fact that he's like they're the mother and father of your husband or your wife, because either one could be living with you, but it's also the fact that, subhanAllah, they're Muslim. Just every Muslim has rights on us. If they're living with you, they're also like your neighbors. You have all these rights amongst each other. But how do you keep that relationship with the father-in-law and mother-in-law giving their rights, and then, of course, the daughter-in-law and son-in-law getting their rights? That limitation. And this is where the Sharia comes in, subhanAllah. There's nothing that the Prophet ﷺ has said that we have to do. For example, if we don't do something, our mother-in-law or father-in-law can beat us up. And my father recently was just telling me the story, and this is in Afghanistan, and there was a man, and unfortunately wealth and power does this to a lot of people in different countries, especially when there's lack of, police and government officials who are doing the right thing. And he said this man had 3 sons. And what he would do is he was very wealthy. He said, son, it's time for you to get married. And he would go and get the son married, and then after the son was married, he would send him abroad somewhere. And then, a'udhu billah, he thought that it's time for him to be a husband to the daughter-in-law. So when you know your rights in the Sharia, now the young girls who ended up marrying the sons, 2 of them just obeyed the father-in-law, didn't know what to do. The 3rd one studied the deen, and she refused. And she refused, and she refused. And it came to the point where he was like, my son will divorce you. She said, I would rather take divorce than this. So you have to know your rights. What are our rights as daughter-in-laws, as mother-in-laws, as father-in-laws, sister-in-laws? All of that is so important, inshallah. And within that, how do we deal with the next step? Next, please. All right. So I just talked a little bit about the rights that you may have, the 6 rights of the Muslims or rather. Obviously, this is going to be also going for the in-laws. I can't complain about my own in-laws, alhamdulillah. I can't complain about them because I didn't have very many issues with them, alhamdulillah. But from the beginning, we had set boundaries. And I think that's something very important. From the beginning, before I had married their son, I said, I want to get an education. This was very important to me, and I had made sure that they agreed to certain things so that when that time came, I wasn't fighting anyone. From the beginning, I had mentioned, how I wanted to have my own home with, my own children. And this was very important. But I also didn't neglect to say that, when the time came, I wouldn't mind having them as well. Oh, thank you, clicker. All right, thank you. Oh, we got a clicker, alhamdulillah. Okay, so I think the boundaries is very important. When you understand that and you make the boundaries with your in-laws, they will understand. And we need to have the same kind of boundaries with our children, with your spouses. So when I was getting married, I was 18 when I had, he had asked for my hand, and 19 when I got married, and the first thing I told him was, I am going to get an education, inshallah. I am going to get, my parents came from a war-torn country, they brought us here, and they said, you have to get an education. And he agreed to that, and subhanAllah, he never stopped me from getting my education. And like the Sheikh just said right before me, it's massive. We need to be educated, we need to have it. But you could do it while you're married with kids too, just so you know. It's a little bit harder, but it can be done. Okay? So giving them their rights, number one. A lot of times the in-laws don't feel like they're being given their rights. And this includes, the new daughter-in-law and son-in-law coming home. They don't even say salams. They don't say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, how are you? They just ignore them. They just walk in and go do their own thing. And these are important things. And this is, common sense. Just respecting each other. It's massive. And I know when you live with them, it's a little bit harder. About a year ago, I had a friend who had called me, and this is a very, very practicing friend, mashallah, very much on the deen. And I know her husband very well, alhamdulillah, he's very much on the deen. And she called me crying about her mother-in-law. Now, I've met the mother-in-law, and I liked her. She's an amazing woman. But this problem arises, and there's little things that keep adding to it. And then until you blow up, right? And sometimes it happens. And so she asked me, what should I do? And I told her, obviously Allah loves those who are patient. And you are so patient, mashallah. You've done so much. How much time does this woman have? She loves her son. Yes, she's going to make these mistakes, but she's not hitting you. She's not abusing you. She's just picking over little things that are annoying. And subhanAllah, so she took that advice. Less than 6 months later, the mother-in-law passed away. When she passed away, she had passed away with her daughter-in-law as someone who had pleased her and who was happy with her. So this life's really short. Don't take it to heart over all the nitpicky little things. And of course, we as mothers shouldn't be nitpicky. As a matter of fact, I've already told my children, inshallah, when they get married, I'm going to move to another country, change my identity, and I'll only call them on Eid. I don't even want to see them, inshallah. They're like, well, what about our children? I said, your in-laws can have them, mashallah. So because I homeschool, so I'm ready to take a step away. But I say that, and that fact is because I know so much drama can come out of this. So what is a monster-in-law? It says, one day, sweetie, you'll find your prince charming, but the evil dragon lady will live, eat, drink, and breathe to make your happy ending a happily never after. You'll simply call her mother-in-law. Now, we hear all of this, and if we hear this from our own families and our parents and our relatives, then we're going to just imagine everyone is rude and mean and bad. And we can't do that. We can't do that. We have to give everyone that, doubt, to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're not. Just like we as Muslims in America are constantly striving and saying, we're not terrorists, we're not terrorists, because we're all judged. But it's the same thing, unfortunately, with the mother-in-laws and father-in-laws in different situations. They're being judged before they can even, defend themselves to say they're not. And then the situation just goes worse. So the all-star advocate. For all of us who in the future, inshallah, may become a mother-in-law and a father-in-law, are we following the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Are we following the Sunnah? Are we giving the boundaries and the rights? Or are we trying to be something we're not? And it's important, because I think on the outside it's easy for us to act like we're really good people, subhanAllah, but it's inside our home that the real us comes through, and who we are shows. And so we have to question ourselves. What are we doing? And one of the things my mother told me, subhanAllah, at a young age was like, when I got married, my mother said, I'm not meddling in your life. I want you to know. If you have a problem, you come to me. I'm not going to ask you. And it was very important that I had her support, but not her, nitpicking. It was the same thing with my father. If he needed something, he asked, but he never meddled in. So it became very easy for us, alhamdulillah, not to have that extra stress and worrisome, especially when you're both going to college and trying to raise a family and you already have a lot to worry about. So, I'm sorry, it was going backwards. Oh, I did it the wrong way. Sorry, guys. All right. So get to know the homemaker who preceded you. As you know, your mother-in-law raised your husband. So get to know her. She might know all his favorite dishes and all that, and give her that space. It's hard because she's taking care of him all his life, and now another woman's going to come, and she might not cook the same way. She might not do the laundry the same way. She might not, and it's going to be hard to let go of some of that control, and that's okay. Get to know her and don't take that personally. Okay, don't be defensive. Don't be defensive. Be confident in who you are. Understand that and don't take it personal. Like everything doesn't have to be like that. One of the things I said from the beginning was, I'm not a very good cook. No competition. Your mother can cook all the good dishes, mashallah. I'm never going to compete with that. Nope. And I wasn't about to compete. Everyone knows their strengths and weaknesses. So don't get defensive thinking you have to be the best at everything and they can't be good at something. Okay? You're a garment for your husband and his family by extension, which means that, subhanAllah, what you hear in your in-law's house about your mother-in-law, father-in-law, sister, please don't go out repeating it to the world. Keep that in. That's an amana. Just like you don't want your information to be passed around and gossiped about, don't gossip about your in-laws either. That's your family. You're all related now. And this makes a happier marriage. This makes a happier living. You complete half of his deen. You have to remember that, for us women, that's part of who our husband is. And for the men, because nowadays this problem isn't just amongst the women, it's amongst the men as well. You have to remember that's her parents. That's who raised her and took care of her. You can't shut that door on her and say, I don't want you to do this or that or talk with them or associate with them. Daughter-in-laws that become the best friends. This is the kind of relationship we should have with our mother-in-laws, with our father-in-laws, in the sense of within the boundaries, but be close to them, to be able to ask them and talk to them and be able to connect with them and not judge them. And it's something that needs to be worked on, just like anything else. I mean, with your own best friend, how much time do you give your best friend? Do you buy them gifts? Do you do all this stuff? Be able to do that with your in-laws as well. We love it when we buy our parents a gift. But subhanAllah, when it comes to our in-laws, we become stingy. And it shouldn't be like that. What you get for your parents, get for his parents as well. Don't be stingy, vice versa. It's the same thing with the men. Sometimes, mashallah, they take care of their parents very well, but when it comes to her parents, they become stingy and Don't be like that. Treat both of them equally with respect and love, and that will continue to nurture and grow, inshallah. How to not be a monster-in-law? Don't criticize their clothing because they don't dress the same way as you, because they don't have the same style as you. We have to let go of the criticizing. We women, mashallah, we're notorious for criticizing. We can point out every bad thing about every single person, but we can't point to ourselves. Alhamdulillah. Number 2, don't call them every single day. No. Just leave them. Let them grow. Let them change. Let them understand. Let them discover. The only people I call every single day is my mom and dad. And that's because I know they want to hear from me, alhamdulillah, not because they don't want to. But everyone else, you don't have to. Number 3, don't judge their decisions and life choices. Now, you guys do know we're in a new generation. And subhanAllah, we see the iPads and the iPhones and all the technology out there. I'm not a big fan of technology for kids at young ages. I'm not. I'm going to be very honest with you. And I am giving a parenting class, inshallah, I think Tuesday night. I'm going to discuss this a bit deeper. But I'm not a big fan. But at the same time, I don't sit there and criticize everyone else's choices and decisions. I just explain why it can bring a lot of harmful, negative attributes to the kids instead of benefits. But as a mother-in-law, so in my house, for example, there was no TV, there was no Xbox games, there was no iPhones, iPads. We didn't have that. My daughter got one when she was 18 and got a job, and and she earned it, and she can pay for her own bill. The rest of them don't have it. And 2 of the boys are at university, they don't have it, alhamdulillah. But I say that is because when the next generation comes, they might do that. They might have a TV in their house. They might give their kids that stuff. It's none of my business. We each raise our children to the best of our ability and to the best way we can. And if they make that decision, we have to step back and let them learn and grow from it, inshallah. Don't comment on the division of responsibilities. Why does he have to do all the cooking and the cleaning and all of that stuff? Why does he have to do this? If the son is having an issue, the son can discuss all that. If the girl's having it, they can discuss it amongst themselves and figure it out. There's no need for us to get in there and try to be that. We're not even mediating. We're just making more issues. Don't impose yourself. Massive. Don't impose yourself. Going on whenever you want to, whatever you want, and just burdening. Don't challenge the parenting methods. I just said this a little bit ago. And this is one of the toughest ones because we feel like, subhanAllah, we've mastered parenting. Don't challenge it. You can give advice, but very far from a third person, and then let people make their own decisions and learn from it, inshallah. I'm going to buy them tickets to go to conferences instead of me telling them. Let other speakers tell them. Okay? So the one who spoils her loved ones. There's a story of a young woman who, mashallah, tabarakallah, she got married actually very young. She was 16 when she got married, and she didn't finish her education. She didn't do anything else. But the one thing that she had was the only thing she could do, subhanAllah, at that age was she couldn't read and write a lot of other stuff. As a young girl, she was in the village, and the only thing she learned was how to read the Quran. Alhamdulillah, which my son says that's the only thing she needed. Alhamdulillah. But with that, by the mercy of reading the Quran every day and the blessings of Allah, this woman learned all about love and teaching love and giving that to her family. So when her kids were older, they said, our mother might have not been educated. She might not have had all this other knowledge. But subhanAllah, just reading the Quran and the blessings of the Quran, Allah gave her wisdom in different ways. And she was constantly the loved one. I think she had 10 kids total, and they named her like not only the mother of the year, but the mother-in-law of the year, because the entire family was always happy with her, which takes a lot. And I say that is because this is a quality we need to work on a lot, inshallah. So don't create the good grandma and bad parents scenario. You know what you guys are, what that means. Like I tell my kids, no, you can't have any soda, and then my mom and dad are like, come here, I got some soda for you on the side. I actually sat my parents down when I was pregnant with my eldest, and I said, yeah, there's going to be no soda in my house. If you guys are going to babysit, inshallah, I have some rules and regulations. I was the only child that did this with my parents. And alhamdulillah, they accepted it, and they followed the rules and regulations, and they were okay with it. But the rest of my siblings, they didn't do that. But I did do that, and they were okay with it because I knew there were certain things I wanted my kids to not have and not be around, and it was important to me, and they were fine with that, alhamdulillah. They didn't go around my back. Okay. All right, the one who will be there at the drop of a hat. You cannot do kindness too soon, for you never know how soon it will be too late. SubhanAllah, this life is so short, and we hear this over and over and over and over again. It's so short. I mean, if we constantly remember that we don't have much time, and that we just being nice, saying a nice word, being patient, stepping back from the situation, not taking things personally. I remember a long time ago, there was 2 sister-in-laws, and one sister-in-law always be told, like, this one's better, this one's better, this one's better. So obviously the other one was starting to get annoyed and frustrated. But subhanAllah, and it comes back down to us, don't create these kind of problems. The other one, the one thing that she had was a lot of confidence. She didn't care about what they said. Alhamdulillah, she's like, I'm good, I got this. You can think whatever you want, alhamdulillah. Sometimes as the daughter-in-laws, we need to let it go in one ear, out the other. It's okay, let it go. Just like we do with our parents. When our parents get upset at us or yell at us, right? We don't hold it forever. We understand. It was the heat of the moment, something happened. In one ear, out the next. Don't take it personally. And I think that's it, because where's my timer? How did I do with that? He told me I didn't have as much time. Okay, I'm okay with it. All right, so with that being said, he scared me a little bit with my time, so I kind of went through it a little faster than I had to. I get very nervous with that if I don't have enough time. So with that being said, I just want to let you guys know on the ending note that, subhanAllah, for everyone who's not married, please don't take this as something difficult. Every marriage is going to have their test. Some marriages will have a test with the spouse, some will be with the in-laws, some will be with finances, every single marriage will have their test. You just need to walk in there being prepared and being patient and understanding and keep trying to figure out how do you make your marriage better, inshallah. If you figure out your issues are your in-laws, then you figure out how do you make this work. There was a man sitting next to me on the plane when I was coming here. He was a Nigerian man. He was an attorney. And I asked him, I said, do you have any children? He said, yes, one. I said, why didn't you have any more? He said, because I hate my mother-in-law. And I said, well, what does that have to do with your wife? He goes, well, no, she lives with me. And I was just like, it's going to be too many headaches, too many kids, this mother-in-law, this. And I was actually quite sad to hear that. Like, here he is working, and the mother-in-law is living with him, and I don't know what was going on. Obviously, every story has two sides to it. But to say something like this to a stranger, not care. So we have to think about, okay, at the end of the day, subhanAllah, what is our answer to Allah Azza wa Jal? What is our answer going to be? How we treat people? I mean, maybe humanity might not see all of our illnesses or all of our shortcomings in our homes between us alone. But Allah sees everything. So at the end of the day, we have to keep questioning that with ourselves. What does Allah think of us? And if we can be more patient and more gentle and more understanding, then subhanAllah, our in-laws will come around as well, and inshallah they will treat us the same way. But someone has to give that in. You have to be able to step forward and be able to. And I encourage everyone to be patient, whether it's the brothers or the sisters. Don't take things personally, let it go. When the father of my children had asked for my hand, originally my father said no. I was 18 and he was 21 and my father said no. And when I asked him why, he said, because I hate his father. You guys know that one, right? Well, we're family. And, you can't run away from family. And I said, Father, what do you think about him? Not his father. What do you think about him? But my father did love his mother. He did love his mother. And his mother had passed away. He said, I like him, but I don't know if I want to deal with this whole family. So subhanAllah, qadr of Allah, at the end, he did give me because he liked him. And alhamdulillah, he never let my father down. Anytime my father needed anything, he was always there. He did take care of that. But I say that don't judge the boys or the girls based on their parents as well, because each person should be judged individually. All right, with that being said, Jazakallah khairan, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Time is fast spent and it's time for Salah. So just like we emphasized earlier, the male will go out through your right while the female will exit through the left. The wudu area for women is at the back on the left, and there's a bathroom there for them to make use of. There's the mobile toilet as well outside. Mobile toilet for men at the back, and there's a food session at the back as well, where everybody can eat. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy. So we call to prayer now, and then we proceed. We resume at 1:45, bi'Iznillah.